When you think of the Middle Ages, what do you picture? People huddled around candles? Knights and castles, maybe peasants who thought the earth was flat? What if I told you that while Europe was building cathedrals and waging wars, some minds were building machines that could track the motion of planets, predict eclipses, and calculate time with near-modern accuracy? Let's talk about medieval measuring devices, tools from the so-called Dark Ages that prove human curiosity was never in the dark. One of the most astonishing instruments of the time was the astrolabe. Originally developed in ancient Greece, the astrolabe reached new levels of sophistication in the Islamic Golden Age, between the 8th and 13th centuries. Scholars like al-Zarqali, al-Battani, and later European scientists refined it into a handheld mechanical device that could tell the time of day, determine latitude, track the positions of stars, even assist in prayer direction for Muslims facing Mecca. This was a celestial computer, made of brass, finely engraved, and operated by turning a set of discs. Some were small enough to wear on a chain. Others were large enough to hang on observatory walls. These weren't symbolic toys. They worked. Meanwhile, in medieval monasteries across Europe, monks were creating some of the earliest mechanical clocks. One of the first fully mechanical clocks was built in Salisbury Cathedral in the 14th century. It didn't have a face, but it had a system of weights, gears, and escapements that rang bells on the hour. These clocks were engineering marvels, not just religious tools, but also mechanical representations of celestial order. They ticked in rhythm with the heavens. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, a Greek device from over 1,000 years earlier, but rediscovered only in the 20th century. Why mention it here? Because its rediscovery in 1901 inspired modern historians to search for more lost technologies, and it turned out that medieval craftsmen, especially in Islamic Spain and Persia, were creating machines with similar complexity. We often assume modern science is a straight line, but the truth is more complicated. Sometimes great knowledge appears and vanishes. Other times, it lingers quietly in the hands of a few, passed down through apprentices and scholars. For example, in 1206, the Muslim engineer al-Jazari created a series of automata, mechanical devices that moved on their own using hydraulic systems, gears, and cams. Among his inventions were a programmable musical robot band, a water-powered clock with animated figures, a hand-washing fountain activated by motion. Sounds futuristic, right? He published his designs in a book that would later influence inventors in Renaissance Europe. Even Leonardo da Vinci's famous sketches of gears and mechanical men may have roots in this medieval engineering tradition. So why don't we learn about these machines in school? Because history often favors revolutions, not evolution. We talk about Newton and Galileo, but we forget those who prepared the instruments they used. We marvel at 19th century clocks, but ignore the monks and mathematicians who were measuring the universe 600 years earlier. These machines tell us that the Middle Ages weren't a time of ignorance. They were a time of mechanical imagination, where people didn't just look at the sky in awe. They built machines to understand it. They may have lived behind the times, but in some ways, they were centuries ahead.